Well, hello again, and welcome back to Vickie's Country Home. It's been one heck of a day, and I'm tired, but I'm gonna make dinner, and I think it's gonna be good. But I'm making this up as I go along, so you never know until you try it. So I've made a video before on my thin crust pizza, and we love it. It is so easy to make. And it's so good. Nice thin crispy crust. But normally I use my homemade pizza sauce, and we make a normal pepperoni or sausage or whatever pizza with it. Well, I just was in a different mood tonight. So what we're gonna do, I have some artichoke lemon pesto in a jar, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to use that as my sauce, and I'm going to add quartered artichoke hearts, some roasted garlic. I'm going to put some toasted pine nuts because we love those and they go so well with the artichoke. And then to mix it up, I have some uncured diced pancetta. And that just sounded so good to me. So I'm going to brown this up. I'm going to toast these pine nuts. And I'm going to get my pizza crust started. And then we'll come back and we're going to assemble this. So we'll come right back. Okay, I've got the pine nuts lightly toasted, and I just put them in a cast iron skillet on a lower temperature and stayed with it, because once they start to brown, they can burn very quickly, and you really don't want to waste pine nuts, especially with their cost. So now I'm going to use the same skillet, and I'm going to just brown this pancetta. It's kind of like an Italian bacon. So that sounded good to me. Kind of bacon flavor to go along with the artichoke and artichoke hearts and pine nuts. Sounds good to me. And I'm making this up so I can do what I want, right? So I just want to brown this just a little. I'm just going to let this brown, and then I'll bring you back and we'll start to assemble this thing. Alright, the pancetta is just starting to get brown and a little bit crispy. So I'm going to take this out of the pan and drain it so that it can cool off a little. Doesn't that look yummy? Get it cooled off a little bit before we make the pizzas. Alright, I got my yeast blooming, and now I'm adding my flour. One thing I'm going to do though, and this is not in the recipe, I'm going to add just a little bit of granulated garlic, because you know what? I like garlic, and I think it will go well with this. So I'm adding that in addition to a teaspoon of salt, and that is going to season my pizza dough. Do you need to do that? Nope. Well, you need the salt, but the garlic's totally optional. So now we're just going to bring this together. That looks good to me. We're going to let this sit for 5 minutes and rest, and then we're going to come back and get these pizzas made. Alright, I've let this rest for about 5 minutes, and I'm going to cut it in half best you can. I'm not going to weigh it. I don't worry about that. And I made a double recipe of this because for the 3 of us and the leftovers that I know they want. We basically need a double recipe, so 2 smaller to medium-sized pizzas. So flour your board, flour your rolling pin. And since I'm going to use pizza stones, I don't care if these are round. They're almost better being oblong. But by allowing your dough to rest for the 5 minutes, it also helps with rolling it out, because your dough will have a tendency, like as you can see, to shrink back. And letting it rest helps that. I can't let it rest too long because in our climate it will dry out and get crusty, and that's not what I want before I put it in the oven. So if you want to let it sit a few more minutes and your climate isn't so dry, I would go ahead. It makes the job easier. Okay, this looks good to me. It's fairly thin. Now I'm going to get my pizza peel. And I am going to put a liberal amount of cornmeal on it. Think of it like little ball bearings, and they're going to help your pizza slide off. So I'm going to take this and just lay it on top of that. Now comes the fun stuff. This is the Artichoke Lemon Pesto. And like I said before, this is going to be my sauce. And it's got most of your seasonings in there, so you don't want to add a whole lot of salt or anything else, just because then it would get too salty. So we're going to use this to give us that seasoning and flavor. And as you can see, it's got a lot of olive oil in it, which is going to help also. And again, because you've got a thin crust, don't go too heavy on your seasonings, because this thin crust might not support it. And this is the roasted garlic. And I buy this, it's in olive oil, and so we're just going to sprinkle some of that around. I'm going to say it's probably a teaspoon, but I don't know. It's a dumpa recipe, so it's whatever I take out of the jar and put on it. And definitely wipe my hands. Okay, now I'm going to put on my mozzarella cheese, and I do buy the pre-grated for this. But you know what? I've checked the label. It doesn't have wood pulp or anything crazy like that, so I'm not going to worry about it. Put what you'd like on the cheese, but do remember, don't go too heavy just because it is a thin crust. But you definitely want coverage all over. Alright. And what I forgot to tell you earlier, these are my home dehydrated tomatoes, and I rehydrated them with some hot water, but then I added some olive oil. So they're kind of like sun-dried tomatoes, but these are home dehydrated. Because again, all these flavors go together. And now I've got my artichoke hearts. And I'm just going to spread those around too. And did I say this is not a diet recipe? It's not. So now I have my lightly toasted pine nuts. You can toast these darker if you'd like. I chose not to because this is going to be cooking in the oven, so it's too easy to burn these. They got a little bit of the toasted flavor, and that's plenty. And now we have our diced ground pancetta. And again, you don't want to add salt to this because this pancetta has plenty of salt. It may even be a little bit saltier than bacon. But, oh, it's so good. Alright. Now we're going to put a little bit of shredded Parmesan. And again, this has salt, so you're not going to want to go overboard. But again, you can make this however you would like. Make it. You could use bacon instead of the pancetta. However you like. Alright, I'm going to slide this onto the baking sheet, and probably 10 to 15 minutes, and this will be done. So we'll bring you back. And there it is. This is beautiful, and I can't tell you how wonderful this smells. Smell-o-vision. We need that, YouTube. This is beautiful pizza. gorgeous. We'll come right back and we'll have a taste. Alright, we're going to put a little bit more Parmesan cheese. And this smells so good, and I know this is going to be hot. The crust is perfect. It's nice, thin, light, crispy. And these toppings are so good. They all go together, and I'm really going to enjoy this. And when I said I had a long day and a hard day, I dug potatoes, then I climbed on the roof, cleaned the chimney, and came in and made this wonderful meal. So I'm really going to enjoy this. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share it with your friends, and hit the little notification bell because that really helps me. And you will get notified whenever my videos come up if you hit the notification bell and tell it that you want to be notified of all videos, because the default for YouTube is you'll get notified sometimes. Don't ask me why, that's what they did. So, thank you, God bless, and we'll talk again soon.